So hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lucy and today I'm filming a video that has been quite requested over the years that I've been on BookTube. And this is basically my story of how I became a book publicist working in publishing. So this is just my story and I do intend to do kind of a series of videos properly this time about how to get into the industry, how to nail your first interview, how to write a good CV and covering letter, basically everything like that to really equip you if you want to get into publishing so you know what you're doing and you feel confident about wanting to get into this industry. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about the job I'm kind of doing now and things that I do day to day, but rather kind of the path that has led me to wanting to do book publicity and what I love about it and what I did to actually kind of be where I am today. So if you're interested, stick around and we'll be talking through. I've got my cup of tea here in my trusty Hamilton mug and we're going to have a nice chat about book publicity. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. I was in university in the northwest of England and I was studying an English degree when in my second year I attended like a lecture on somebody from, I think it was like Manchester University Press or something, like talking about publishing and why if you're doing an English degree it might be an option for you to kind of pursue publishing. And basically it was giving us an overview of the industry. The one thing I took away from that was it is very, very competitive and it is very difficult to get into. So I kind of went away from that talk being like, you know what, this is an option. I hadn't even thought of getting into publishing before. That was never something that I even thought was an option. But when I was in my second year of uni, I wasn't really thinking that far ahead. So going to this lecture and hearing this guy talk about publishing, I was like, you know what? I have just set up a YouTube channel about books. I mean, hello. I'm, reading more than I ever have before in my life and I love books. So it kind of was the natural fit for me. So as I said, I went away from that talk being very, very inspired, but I also thought, wow, this guy is basically saying it's really hard to get into, you have to be committed, you have to pursue internships, and basically you have to know your stuff, you have to really kind of research before you plan ahead, you want to make sure that this is the correct industry for you. And at the time I just thought, you know what, I'm going to kind of play it by ear and see how I feel in a year's time. So in third year of university, all my other friends on different courses were applying for grad schemes. So kind of graduate schemes where you apply in your third year of university and you get taken on at a company and you basically like learn along the way. It's kind of like a traineeship, but basically you're working, but you're doing kind of like exams and stuff and really kind of training in that industry. I looked into publishing graduate schemes, of which there are very, very few. In fact, there's only really one main one, and that is actually at HarperCollins. So I applied for that and I didn't hear anything. Didn't get through, didn't even make it through to the first round, nothing. And this I kind of expected because I knew nothing about publishing. I think my entry was pretty pathetic because I just wasn't that committed. I didn't really want it and I didn't really know what I was applying for as well. So I didn't get in. I didn't even get round to the first, shortlist or whatever. And that was completely fine. I just thought, you know what, it's a shame, but I want to know more about the industry. I really want to kind of understand it and get a deeper knowledge of it. So that's when I kind of started researching. I was in my third year. I was, doing about a video a week on my channel and I wasn't yet at the stage where I was receiving proof copies. So, I was very kind of in my own bubble. I'd never really encountered anyone who worked in publishing, anyone who knew anything about publishing. So I was very much on my own and then I kind of started Googling about publishing. I just wanted to know what the internet said about the industry essentially. I did find some helpful articles, but they didn't really give me a sense of like what I was in for. The one thing they did give me was kind of a breakdown of different departments in publishing. I always assumed at that stage that I would want to do editorial, which is where they acquire the books, it's where they edit the books, they basically see the book through publication. They send the book to be proofread, they send the book to be copy edited, they put it through to production, they brief covers, and that's what I just kind of thought, oh well obviously I'd want to be an editor, I want to acquire the books. And I had very much the blinkers on because I was like, I'm sure no other department in publishing will be as good as editorial. So at this stage I was just about to graduate and then I panicked because I was like, I have no job lined up after uni, I'm going to have to move home, I'm going to have to try and find a way to support myself if I want to leave the house and actually do things. And I was very fortunate in that, you know, my parents let me live there for a few months kind of like unpaid, and you know, my food was provided for me. So I didn't have that like necessary, that like push to like, I need to get a job like now. So I spent that time applying for internships in publishing houses. It's fair to say that all major publishers are based in London, with a few exceptions. Canongate is based in Edinburgh. A few of the like university presses, there's one in Oxford, Cambridge, Manchester. But all the major trade publishers, so trade publisher basically means that you're publishing books for the trade, going to be available in bookshops and things like that, not academic. All the trade publishers are based in London. I was based in the northeast of England, basically in Newcastle, so that is a long way from London. I had never really been to London before in my life, and I knew if I wanted a shot of working in publishing, I was going to have to move to London eventually, and also I needed to get an internship to even stand a chance of getting a job. So all of my research online told me that to get into publishing, you need about a month or a bit more of work experience at a publishing house. So that is what I was applying for, and eventually I was successful in that I got a month's work experience placement at HarperCollins in London, and it was in the sales department of Collins Education. So this wasn't the publishing that I kind of like wanted to get into, but I was like, you know what, publishing experience is publishing experience. I need to just get in there. I need to be in a publishing house and kind of make the most of my time there. It's also worth saying as well that I applied for probably about 50 work experience placements or internships until I got that one. Yeah, I mean, you have to nail your CV and covering letter to the T, and that was something I didn't realise when I was applying for internships. I just thought, oh, you know, I'm sure they'll have like loads of opportunities. You don't realise how many other people are applying for these things as well. So you have to really stand out from the crowd, and luckily I learned that eventually, and I got myself a month's work experience in London at HarperCollins. Now, it was very, very lucky that one of my best friends was living in London for a placement. So she had a place in London. If she didn't have a place in London, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that work experience placement. I didn't have the money to find a hotel or a B&B or whatever in London for a month. You know, I didn't have that type of money. So it was really lucky that I knew someone who worked in London. Otherwise, you know, I just wouldn't have been able to move to London and do that. Did the month's work experience, and that was when I just thought, you know what, I need to scout out the other departments. So I was really, you know, happy where I was in the sales department in Collins Education. It was awesome, and you learn a lot there just by being in the building and, you know, seeing how the process works and the different kind of imprints and the different lists that publishing companies have. But then I started realising, because at this point I started to receive proofs from publishers in that I was talking quite frequently to publicists in publishing houses. So publicists would reach out to me and say, hey, we've got this YA book that we think you'll really enjoy, would you like a review copy? And then obviously I was building my relationships with these publicists back and forth. You know, they would kind of know what I like to read and review, and I'd build up relationships with them that way. A lot of those relationships I actually still kind of have now. Like a lot of those publicists who started sending me books 4 years ago, I now like have worked with now. It's so weird to think of that, but it's really, really lovely that you kind of build those relationships that way. So I knew then that what I really wanted to do was publicity. And it was a department that really, really captured my interest, because these publicists were reaching out to me and sending me books, and I thought, I really want to be on that other side of the email chain. I want to be the publicist who is contacting bloggers and really kind of like sharing the books that they love and just wanting to like share the word basically and really get the word out about these amazing books. So that's when I kind of started asking for kind of like meetings with people who I knew worked in publicity at HarperCollins. So I reached out to the children's publicity team at HarperCollins. I asked them if I could do a day doing work experience there, and luckily, you know, everyone was really happy about that. They were happy to kind of have me help, and it was just such a kind of like, it cemented in my mind, you know, this is what I want to do. So then my month's work experience ended. I went back to the northeast, where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just start applying for publishing jobs, even though I didn't have loads of experience. I just had a month's work experience, nothing else. So what I did was I did a 3-month marketing placement back at my old university, where basically I devised a marketing strategy and a publicity strategy. And even though I wasn't technically working in publishing, I was working in the same kind of industry that I wanted to get into, which was communications, marketing, publicity. So what that allowed me to do was gain transferable skills, which I think, like, at the time I didn't realise that's what I was doing, but now I look back and I think those things that I learnt whilst I was doing that 3-month placement at university, I've taken those skills with me. So it's really invaluable if you're kind of stuck in a rut and you're not really getting, you know, loads of publishing work experience or internships. Maybe trying different industries as well, because it does really help. So whilst I was doing that 3-month placement, what I was really doing was working on my CV and covering letter. I mean, I feel like everyone, you know, your teachers, your career advisors, they tell you across the years, like, really make your CV stand out, really make your covering letter stand out, really get things right, like spelling, format, you know, grammar, everything like that. I kind of was like, whatever, not really important, it's a piece of paper. No, this is you. You know, your interviewer or, you know, the recruiter will see this CV and think, who is this person? And all they have is a piece of A4 paper telling them who you are. So I spent those 3 months doing that placement, really nailing my CV and covering letter and making it as best as it could be. I got an interview at Oxford University Press for a marketing assistant role, which unfortunately I didn't get, and I think that was because it wasn't marketing I wanted to get into. And you know, I kind of knew that at the bottom of my heart, but I was more interested in just getting into the industry. So that's all fair and good, and I think what that gave me was interview experience. That was my first ever publishing interview, and it gave me the experience I needed to really kind of nail the next interview, which was at Orion Books, and I was applying for a publicity assistant role in a trade publisher. They did, you know, like fiction, non-fiction, YA, basically all the stuff that I wanted to work on. And then I got that job, which was amazing, and that was kind of how I first entered the world of publishing and the world of publicity. And I learned more things in that first job than I would have learnt anywhere else, you know, on the internet or even like certain work experience placements. I think like it's essential, obviously, to do work experience and internships in publishing, because you need to know like that industry is right for you, and you need to nail what department you want to get into. But I think in terms of like giving you a real sense of what the publishing in this industry is like, that first job will teach you so many things. And then basically I have moved around a bit in the publishing industry. I've kind of decided what I really wanted to work on and what my passions were. And here I am now. I am currently working at HarperCollins. So I'm doing a full circle moment back to the company where I applied for my first grad scheme and didn't get it, and then also my month work experience placement was at HarperCollins. So full circle moment right there, and I'll have worked here for 2 years this October. So there you go. It's been pretty intense, but I've been in publishing for over 4 years now, which is terrifying because, you know, I remember those days of applying for jobs so well. And that is my story essentially of how I became a book publicist. So please do leave any questions you have down in the comments. Let me know what you want to know, and let me know what videos you'd like me to make in this series. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more videos. And I will see you next time, guys. Bye!